Hello everyone and welcome to lecture 8, and this week we're talking about the natural world. And as you can see on the front cover here, we have a picture of Earth. This is a photo taken from space. We can see some ice at the top of the world. We can see Europe, we can see North Africa, and we can see deep black space in the background. This week we're going to be talking about the climate. We're going to be talking about various things related to the environment. One of them is climate change, and we've actually got a series of TED Talks here which we've put a link to the Facebook page and a link on the Moodle site. If you want to watch some extra information about the natural world, you can see some really good information here. And when you watch these videos, it's a good idea to have your subtitles on in English so you can listen and read to the presenters, because some of their language is quite complicated, and it's a good opportunity to hear some of this more professional language, quite strong academic language in English. This week we're also talking about the grammar point, which is hypothetical possibilities, and when we're talking about hypothetical, we're mainly talking about if. For example, when we're talking about a hypothetical imaginary situation in the future, we use if plus past verb, subject plus would plus verb. So let's have a look at this example. If people respected the natural environment, the planet would be a cleaner place. Or if more people used public transport, less pollution would be created. So this is a really nice structure that we can use, and a really nice language form that we can use to talk about the future. And English is great for talking about the future. Let's turn now to the pictures and the question, what do you see in the four pictures? Picture A, we can see a bird in a forest, and this bird is actually called a toucan. This is quite famous for having a very long beak, a long orange beak. The bird is quite an interesting bird to look at, quite an unusual bird. And in the background, as we said, there's a forest. It looks like a very natural environment. Picture B shows a coastline, and this is a coastline where there is ocean, there's the sky that we can clearly see, but there's also the beach, and this looks like quite a nice beach where people could relax and enjoy themselves. And they might be able to go swimming in this area here. There's a little bit of a wave along here, which might suggest that there's some reef or something else within the ocean environment. And as we know, a lot of fish like to live around reef areas. Picture C, we can see the planet, and this is the same picture as the front slide. This is planet Earth, as we know. This is where we live, and when you look at planet Earth from space, it actually looks like quite a fragile place, quite a delicate sort of environment, and something that we need to protect. In picture D, we can see some pollution. This is pollution at a factory, and there's a lot of smoke coming out of these towers, and it's a little bit of a worrying situation when we know that all this pollution must go somewhere, and there are a lot of harmful effects, particularly if we're burning fossil fuels such as oil and coal. Then this can actually lead to the production of carbon dioxide, which is bad for the environment. How do these photos make you feel? Well, picture A, I really enjoy this photo. I love looking at the natural world, and this is a really good example of quite a special bird which lives in the natural world. Picture B makes me feel relaxed. I love the beach. I love going to the beach and sometimes going fishing or going walking. It's a great environment, and it's always changing. The colours are always changing, or the weather's always changing, which is a nice place to go. Picture C, it makes me feel like we're on this planet, that all the people in the world are on this planet together, that it's our responsibility to look after the world and to leave it nice and clean for future generations. Picture D doesn't make me feel very good. It makes me feel that there's a lot of pollution on Earth, and as the population grows on planet Earth, we know that there's going to be a lot of extra pressure on the environment. Lots of people means lots of consumption, People will be buying many things, people will be using many things, and that means that the pollution on Earth is probably going to increase. Question 3, do any of these photos remind you of things you see in your daily life? In picture A, I don't really see this type of natural environment in my daily life because I live in a city. Picture B, I live close to the beach, so I do actually see this sort of environment quite often. Picture C, not really. I don't really get a view from space, obviously, unless I'm looking at a book with pictures or the internet. And picture D, I see some factories that produce some pollution, however, none that are around where I live, and I'm quite happy about that. Let's now look at the types of things that we're talking about this week, and we're talking about hypothetical possibilities, which, as we know, is the if plus past verb plus would plus verb structure. But in our reading, we're talking about the soil, we're talking about the rivers, we're talking about the oceans, we're talking about the natural forests and these types of valuable resources that we often talk about. 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. And when we talk about reducing, reusing and recycling, that is about how to change the way we consume. So rather than go and consume a lot of goods, we can reduce the amount of goods that we use. If we reuse products, then that means we use things again and again. So rather than just have a plastic cup that we throw out after we've used it, we can actually get a better quality cup that we can use again and again. And recycling is also this idea of, rather than throwing things out, we actually use them multiple times. We often talk about the natural world and its links to climate change. A lot of people are concerned about the increasing temperatures on Earth. Many of the scientists agree that this is man-made, and so this is an area which is often used for international exams such as IELTS and TOEFL. They'll often have questions related to climate change, so it's important to have knowledge about this area. Deadly animals, that's another listening that we're going to do, and deadly animals, we often think about sharks or crocodiles or large animals. However, you might be surprised when you do this listening and you find that the deadly animals sometimes some of the smaller little insects. Global challenges. Well, when we're talking about the natural world, we often talk about the challenges. What's it like to have so many people living in the same place? What are some of the challenges that that presents? And then future possibilities. That's when we start to talk about if this would happen, then what would be the result? When we do our writing this week, we're looking at cause, effect and solution essays. Often we use these types of essay formats for English language exams. Cause, what are the main causes of a problem? Effects, how does this affect people? How does this affect an environment? And solution, how can we get a better result? How can we solve this particular problem? So cause, effect, solution. Sometimes you'll have an essay which will ask you for cause and effects. Sometimes you'll have an essay which will talk about causes and solutions. So you have to be careful about how you plan these essays and make sure you answer the question correctly. In this writing that we're going to do this week, we're looking about the causes and effects of deforestation. So what causes people to cut down trees and what is the effect on this? So let's now look at hypothetical possibilities and this structure that we've talked about, if plus past verb, subject plus would plus verb. So let's have a look at some of the questions that are part of the speaking this week. What do you think would happen if more people polluted the oceans? If more people polluted the oceans, I think the oceans would have less fish. For example, fish are an important part of the ecosystem, and if we disrupt the ecosystem, then that means that there is not enough food to go around. So if we polluted more, there would be a problem with the ecosystem. Question 2, what do you think would happen if the world population became double what it is today? Well, these days the world population is approximately 7 million people. If the world population doubled, then many people in the world would have less resources to use. So that's my structure. If doubled, the people would have less to use. If an elderly person caught a disease such as Ebola, the elderly person would probably die. This is because Ebola is a deadly disease and can lead to a lot of suffering. It's a quick disease, and people, particularly in places such as Africa and some parts of Asia, are suffering quite badly from Ebola at the moment. So it's something that we need to be very careful of. It's something that we need to try and control and have a coordinated control for people across the countries as part of a response. Perhaps the United Nations might be able to help with Ebola and other medical associations.